CEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Don't underestimate
the power
of a single
conversation.
It could change your whole life.
INCRadio Chatline.
conversations that matter.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us again on another episode of Chatline, and we hope to connect with you this evening because this is kind of a personal topic. A little bit on the deeper side, but hopefully you can discover with us as me and EJ reflect on uncomfortable things in tonight's show. So we're talking about facing ourselves, EJ. Not in the mirror.
I was gonna make that just
I mean, kind of. Kind of. That's the very literal version of it, but there's more to it, right? Like when you look in the mirror, you kind of see a lot of things that sometimes you like, sometimes you don't like, right? And we can get into the whole technicality of like, do mirrors lie to you? And like, no, like, is that the really? No, we're not gonna do that.
I know some mirrors are like,
they're
like,
skewed, right? They're a little bit warped. They're warped
Yeah.
and bent. They're bent a little bit. So it's something I feel like, again, at the end of the year, we get into some kind of reflection mode, and we think about things that have happened to us. And I don't know about you, but I also like to revisit things that were a little bit tougher and kind of pinpointing where things may have gone wrong.
Oh, I do.
And,
I definitely do, especially if it happened like through text. Like I reread like old text. I reread old text. So if we've ever had an argument through text, you can trust I've read reread that over it.
It can be helpful at times because then you realize like, oh no, I misunderstood what they were trying to say to me. Because like when you're going back and forth and you're kind of just in the moment and you don't process, I guess, as much if you get emotional, right? And in that situation, sometimes we are the problem. We are the problem in situations sometimes. So you kind of already alluded to one example for you, EJ, but are we the problem sometimes in situations?
I would say yeah. Like no, actually so let's say in the context of like an argument or a fight, even if you weren't the first to start it, I think that the fact that it turned into a fight, it's like you carry some fault like in that. Because for it to be a fight,
right?
Because for it to be a fight, it had to be like two people, angry. Like if it's just, let's say for example, I'm angry and you're level-headed. Like you're kind of approaching the situation like level-headed,
like chill.
So,
like, okay, we're okay. Yeah.
Then
I can see that.
Yeah, then that would be my bad, like my fault. If I'm coming at it like emotional and you're like approaching it, like calmly, then that would be my fault. But like for it to be kind of like a fight, an argument, then it had to be like two people who are both kind of like angry.
Yeah, escalating, right? A little bit of escalating. That's a good example. Sometimes also there are times where I feel like I've also gotten in my own way of things. Like it could be as simple as not even necessarily in like what the problem that you mentioned with conflict, but even just things that I do, like maybe for work or maybe for like studying or anything like that. There are a lot of times where I realize I am the problem. Like when it comes to something as simple as, you're trying to, let's say for my work, I'm trying to plan ahead and everything. And then, I'm doing and trying to catch up with all these things. And then I realize I probably should have written stuff down more and not just relied on my memory to kind of um, get me through because, your memory can't always be perfect, stuff
I'd
like that.
say memory is like memory is a tricky thing because
Yeah.
when you're like, let's say you're like the moment that you're kind of like in the moment that you're absorbing the information, it's fresh in your mind. Like you do feel confident that you'll remember it.
Yeah.
Like you'll remember to write it down later. Right? You're not writing it down in a moment. You're like, okay, I'll remember to write it down later. And the moment you try to remember it, you forget.
Yeah.
You forget. You forget why.
You're
Like
like,
you forget what you were even trying to to write down. And that's happened to me before, where I would hear like a familiar song, like maybe a song that I haven't listened to in a long while, and I'm like,
mm-hmm.
okay, I'm gonna look that up later. Like I have the title in my mind, the title of the song in my mind. I'll look that up later. I'll remember it, and when like say I'm on my phone now, I'm like gonna look up the song. Like, what's the title of the song again?
I've gotten in the habit of recording. Like technology has advanced, so we have apps that can help us detect. But if I'm in a tight spot where I can't get the internet, I'll do the voice memos and I'll be like real quick, or I'll just hum it. And I was like, okay, will I remember this later? Stuff like that to help aid the
I
memory.
feel like I'll forget that I even recorded this.
That you know what, you're right. That poses another problem in itself.
Unless I put it on like let's say like Telegram, you know how you can have like your saved messages. Unless I
True.
put it there, I'm gonna forget it. I'm gonna forget that,
Yeah.
that I
That
have it.
that's I feel like forgetfulness plays a large part in some of the problems we cause for ourselves
Mhm.
nowadays. A little bit. Just a little bit. Not for everything, but it's definitely like like attention span, I think, in terms of attention span, and then remembering and being present. Because sometimes, like, again, this is another thing
Mhm.
where it can be traced back to, okay, maybe I'm the problem. Is, let's say me and my mom are having a conversation about stuff that we need to do, and
Mhm.
she's literally telling me, you know a play by play of what's going to happen for the day,
Mhm.
and I'm hearing it as I'm driving, but I am not processing it. Have you ever been in a situation where you hear it but you don't retain? Like,
It happens when you're trying to multitask.
yeah,
You're like you're doing something and you're trying to talk to someone.
terrible.
Like you hear what they're saying. You're able to respond at the moment, but
Yeah.
afterwards you're like, what were we talking about?
I mean, no, most of the time I don't see the effects of it until later on, because in that moment I'm just kind of like, I'm agreeing, right? Because I'm let's say I'm focused driving, I'm just like tired. And then later on in the day, it comes up and she's like, "Yeah, remember I told you?" I'm like,
Oh.
"Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah." So, another example of where sometimes we are the problem, right?
Mhm.
We are the problem.
You were talking about like attention spans, and that like made me think of like earlier. Like I've definitely gotten into like a couple arguments because of like I wasn't paying attention to what was being said to me, and like like it made it seem like I didn't care for like the person,
Mm,
which I do. I do care. It's just that like you caught me at a bad time. Like
yeah.
I was in the middle of something when you were telling me about it, so it went over my mind. And like I didn't even remember what I said to them like at the moment when they were talking to me about it. I didn't even remember. And they were like, "You were saying this like earlier." Like it's like I was. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I don't remember saying that. And I've gotten into like a few arguments because of that. Because like for me, I guess mine's like I was so insistent that I didn't say it. Like I didn't say that, or I didn't tell them that. But I did. I probably did, but I was probably in the middle of something. Like my attention span was just not there. Even if they
Yeah.
were just talking to me, like I just my mind was like wandering somewhere else.
It's like you have those moments, right? Where I don't know if it's kind of speaking to what you just mentioned. It's like sometimes you generally don't remember, but then other times you're like halfway through the argument or like you're the back not necessarily not even argument yet, the back and forth. Halfway through you realize you're like, oh yeah, I did say that. Didn't I?" And you're like, and then are you able to say and admit in that moment like I forget.
I was
I
gonna
didn't
say,
remember.
younger me, no. Younger me would have made excuses. Like, younger me would
Defending
have,
yourself
like,
till the
yeah.
end of time.
And this is a bad habit I had, like when I was younger. It's like blaming everything else but myself. Blaming everyone
Yeah.
else but myself.
I feel like that's normal. Why do you think like you did that? Why do you
It's
think you did
like
that?
it's like out of like your own personal pride, right? Like
Mm.
you it it feels bad to be wrong. You know? Especially if you were like, let's say, like you're and this is kind of like a very specific like position to be in. Like you're in the middle of an argument with like someone, and
Mm-hmm.
you were very insistent that this is what you said, and then you kind of think back and you're like, they were right. I did say that. But you don't want to admit it because like you feel like if you admit it, then you feel like they're gonna, what do you call it, like,
Defeat. They're
yeah,
gonna rub it in your face.
yeah, you feel like they're gonna
Yeah.
rub it in your face, and like, so you don't want to admit it. And that was me. Where it's like, okay, like I know I'm wrong, but I don't want to admit that I'm wrong. So what I did was like I blamed at like any other factor besides like my own attention span. But it's something I'm trying to like like do better now. And see, the thing is now, like like now I don't know if it's just because I don't really care that much anymore about like what people think about me. So it's more like, if I'm wrong, I'll be the first to admit it. Like, you know what? My bad. You're right. I did say that. I did. I did say that. Like I just wasn't. I probably wasn't paying attention when I was saying that, or it was like what do you call it? A word salad. Like you're just like they were talking to you, and you're sort of just saying things that is like like
Like
you're
buying
trying to make
time.
sense. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
you're trying to
okay.
like you're just saying things that like you think makes sense, but it doesn't.
Just kind of like going around like what is it? Not quite beating around the bush, but you're trying to fill up to
Yeah,
overshadow what's been said in a way. Kind of.
repeating what do you call it? Repeating what they said but wording it different.
Mm,
I don't know.
yeah.
Actually, if you watch like some of like I don't know if they're still on like YouTube, but like some of like the old episodes where I was hosting, I like when I rewatch them, I noticed that I do that too when I'm hosting. So I was hosting shows before.
Circular kind of like
Yeah,
going.
I would repeat their answer to them, but wording it differently. I was like,
Yeah.
that
So,
was really a habit I had.
sometimes that can be useful though, because what I will say in,
Mm,
let's say, resolving conflict, sometimes it can be good. I don't know how that reads on air or in interviews, like repeating what they said, but sometimes just in normal conversation, it kind of helps the other person know that you understood, what they were trying to say. Like if let's say I'm trying to explain something to you right now, and then you reiterate what I understood was, and I kind of see it as that,
yeah.
where sometimes that can be helpful, especially in conflict, because sometimes that can be part of the problem where you are actually not understanding what they said. They're saying something completely different, but you're just jumping, you're making conclusions, you're jumping ahead in your mind, maybe because insecurity or just a fear that you have about them, your friendship, relationship, whatever it may be. Um, but like projecting, maybe. I know that's kind of more psychological. We're not experts, but stuff like that, you know.
I mean, just speaking of like experiences, yeah, I've definitely done that. Like preemptively, sort of like preemptively assuming that this is what they meant when they said this.
They
And
hate
I don't
me.
know
They don't
how
like
many,
me.
yeah, like
Yeah.
they like like they said this because they wanted to hurt me. No, like they
Mm-hmm.
know it hurts, but they said it because they cared, like, and this is like something that like I try to remind people now, especially like when they get into an argument. It's like like if they didn't care, they wouldn't fight you. They wouldn't fight you for this if
Mm,
they didn't care, for you. They'd be like, yeah, you know what, it's your own, like, go do what you want. So the fact that they're fighting you on this is because they care about you and they're worried about, like they're worried about the worst happening.
I see. Okay, I will disagree a little bit on that, just
Mhm,
because I agree to a point that um someone who wants the best for you will challenge you at times, right, to kind of get you to see perspective. But I think there's also the other end of it too, where if somebody knows that you're dead set on something and your conviction is pretty firm,
mhm,
sometimes you can reach a point of like agreeing to disagree. Kind of like I I can't control like what you're going to do. But I've laid down my thoughts and this is what you can do with it, as opposed to not quite so far as like, oh, whatever, just do whatever you want. I think I agree that that's like something that's not really caring, but it's kind of like there's a there's an acknowledgement of what is happening and talking about it, but then still I see it kind of like, when parents, you've had moments where parents will be like, they'll tell you something like, don't do it, like don't do it,
mhm,
like, like don't touch that, that's hot, and they're trying to touch like the stove, and then the kid, and they're like, okay, if you want to go, and then they'll touch it, like, oh, because then that's how they learn,
mhm,
to not do it again. Because sometimes, even in this topic of like facing ourselves, sometimes we don't even realize how deep we're in it, like in the problem that we may have caused,
mhm,
until there's the consequence that's really in your face that you can no longer avoid. It's like, hey, like this is something you're doing to doing to yourself. Do you kind of get where I'm coming from with that?
um, yeah, like I forgot what I was getting, but like like you said you're gonna disagree, but I actually agree with like what you've said.
Not
You
completely
know,
disagree. I feel like it was just like an extension,
yeah, like it's
qualification a little bit.
uh like not a tangent, but it's like
Just qualified a little bit
a
of,
caveat.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, kind of, just in terms of like, um because I feel like even in relationships, when you see someone is going through like your friend, like let's say you see me going through a hard time, EJ, and you can kind of already see that I'm doing it to myself, like that I'm causing my own problems.
Hmm.
There's no amount of conversations that we can have that will get me to change until I make the decision myself, right? Like you can constantly talk it out with me and encourage me, but then it's up to me still to take the action of resolving whatever it is. So I'll give you a perfect example. It's like, let's say we constantly go back and forth about this issue of, um, I always do not process the stuff that you're trying to tell me. Like, Tony, we have to be on time for this thing. Let's say I'm always late, or
Hmm.
I'm always showing up late to thing. Like, we need to be on time for this. Like, we need to be on point for this. I told you that we were going to be here at 5:45, and I'm just constantly never processing it. It's never processing in my mind. I'm never remembering. You can tell me a bunch of times like, hey, this needs to change, but then it's
Hmm.
going to be up to me to kind of hold myself accountable, throw back to last topic of what I'm going to do to actually change that. Something that I've tried to do is to catch myself when I'm not being present for conversations. My mind wanders, not
Mhm.
that I'm trying to ignore a person, but because, when you have a lot of things on your mind that you have to do, you're thinking of the next thing and the next thing and the
Yeah.
next thing. And like, oh, I still have to do that other thing. Oh, and I have to do that thing for tomorrow. And sometimes when you're running through that kind of list in your head, it makes you less present for the moment. So that's kind of something that I noticed about myself. So that's something that I've tried to self-correct by trying to shut off those thoughts. Like trying
At the
when I
moment.
see them, yeah, when I see them starting to pile up and list out, I'm like, okay, I gotta stop because so and so is talking to me. I need to give them my full attention. And it's just a conversation that kind of happens in my head that it's not easy because you don't always catch yourself doing it. You again, I've only caught myself when I've seen the consequences of me not being able to do that. And sometimes you don't really realize the problem until, like I said, you there's a consequence that's right there in your face. You're like, oh, okay. Like let's say you really hurt
Uh,
somebody or something.
what you were saying, that's kind of like the thing for me now, where if I like, let's say I've told someone, like I've told them once, I've told them twice, I've told them a few more times, and I can see that they're just either not listening or they're not willing to change that thing about, even if I know that, like, this is gonna hurt you in the long run, you know like, even if I know that, if like you said, if you like it like unless you see the consequence of that for yourself, like it's not gonna click for you, like why I'm saying this. So, like, for that, I just, like, you sometimes you just gotta let them see the consequence of it. But that doesn't mean that, you're like
Learning.
you're like, you abandon them after,
Yeah.
right? It's like you're still sort of there for them, but you're like, okay, I've done what I can for you. I've said, I've given you like a fair warning that it might not work out in the long run, and it might
Yeah.
hurt you in the long run. But you're still kind of like, you're still there for them, right? Like when they eventually feel that consequence, and you're like,
Yeah.
like when you approach them afterwards, you don't go, what did I say?
Yeah. Like,
You're
are
like,
you okay?
and yeah, you,
Are you
you tell
okay?
them, like, it happens, you're fine, I'm here, like yours, it's not a, I don't like using the word like you're like a net to catch them when they fall, but it's kind of like that same principle of like, you're not actively helping them
Hmm.
balance on this tightrope, right?
Yeah.
If they do end up falling, you're there.
Yeah.
You catch
Support.
them, you support them, and you kind of like give them this, like, give them kind of like this chance to, like, to give it another try, right?
Hmm.
Like, with just, that they'll like, and just for us, like, when we experience something, like when we experience the consequence, it teaches us something. So it's like, I believe the same for them as well. Like, if they experience the consequence, then like that already teaches them like something. So like, the best I can do for them, if they're not willing to compromise on that thing, is like, okay, like I'll be here, but like, I can't like be there to like kind of like
I
hold you.
won't agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I won't
I won't
agree. And
hold you up, but
yeah.
I'll be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that can also be painful, that moment when you realize, you know, okay, this needs to stop. Like, because let's say let's say for example the consequence was in a relationship that ended, and
Yeah.
you're like, then you realize like, "Oh, I really am the problem." And like, let's say you break up with somebody and you go to your friends and like, did I really? And then you have this whole I don't want to say revelation, but kind of, you're like, wow, I didn't realize,
Mhm.
sometimes it's that intensity that's needed to kind of pull us out and get us to realize for ourselves.
Mhm.
But, you know, I feel like being able to face ourselves in general is just, it can be hard because, like you mentioned earlier on, it's difficult to admit that you are the problem.
Mhm.
It's
No one
difficult
wants to
to
be the
kind of
problem.
take.
Like, you don't want
Yeah.
it to be your fault, especially if,
Yeah.
like, let's say for breakups, you don't want to be, you don't want to be the reason for it. But
Yeah.
it's like it's like a band-aid, right? It's
Yeah.
like like if you just slowly kind of peel it off, that's gonna hurt more. You know?
Yeah.
You just gotta rip it off. But like for me, like I did not like rereading like text, like old text messages. It's like it makes me feel like I was the problem, but because I was, like my stubbornness to not admit that I was wrong, like that was like a cause of a lot of like problems, and I didn't want to accept that. So like I didn't read it, but like just like like I don't know, it was just this one moment where I just decided that I wanted to be different. Like I wanted to change. Like I like, cause even if you're like you're saying, you're telling yourself that, like I'm not the problem. You're making those excuses why it wasn't your fault. Like deep down, you know it is. You know that you're not accepting that you were wrong. So it was just this one moment of like I just told myself like I gotta change this. I gotta change this about me. So I kind of went back on like those old text messages and like reading them and trying to see like what what did I do wrong that and that caused like this argument. And it like taught me how to deal with like future arguments better, right? I didn't like when I reacted this way. I didn't like when like when they were saying, like when they were telling me the truth and the truth was like hurting me. Like I said some hurtful things back because at the moment I thought they were saying it to hurt me, right? So like I didn't like that I did that. So what did I learn from that? I told myself, okay, if they said something that feels like it hurts, like analyze it first. Like, why are they saying it? Are they saying it to hurt you, or are they saying it because they want to help you? You know, and yeah, like for me, that's like in terms of like trying to be better at like facing myself. Like it's something you're gonna have to accept, like that. You're gonna have to accept the fault that you had in that. That you're not perfect in. You weren't perfect. You're and that and just to make it like more positive, it's like like it shows that you have room for improvement, right? You have room to be better. Even now, you have room to be better than who you were, but you're gonna have to face yourself first to do that.
I think part of it too, before we close out the broadcast, is that we we tend to, I won't generalize, but at least for me, in my experiences with, um, I guess, figuring out conflicts or problems I'm going through, when you think that you've done something bad, it the tendency I feel is to automatically think that I'm a bad friend, or like I'm a bad daughter, or you go to the extreme right away because of mistakes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, does that resonate with you? It's like
Yeah.
you kind of start to label yourself because of that one thing. Like, oh, I wasn't good enough, in this project. Like, I wasn't a fit leader because this thing happened. Or we just start to label right away, and it becomes kind of like a, for me it's always been like that becomes my identity, and it almost um it almost like kind of takes over in that way. But then what I've tried to learn is that we always have choices, like what you said. We always have choices to choose differently than what we did before. Like, you may have done bad things in the past, but that doesn't mean that is you forever.
Yeah.
Like, you can always change and choose differently tomorrow. That doesn't take away from what is like what happened in the past is the past. But that doesn't mean you can't add more to that, so that the mistake that you made, you don't take that and make that all who you are. I feel like that's why sometimes it can be hard to admit that we're wrong, or to admit that we did something bad, because we think that, oh, like that's who I am. I'm just that person, and like people just kind of, they just take it on and try to own that. But no, like you don't have to be that forever. And that's even in terms of me, like with work. I could be better organized. I don't want to label myself that, like I'm just a disorganized person. I'm not going to tell myself that I'm like that forever. I always have the possibility and the potential to choose differently, but that's always going to be up to us, right? And being able to kind of face ourselves and realizing what needs to change, like what choices do I need to make differently to not keep revisiting this problem, to not keep ending up in this situation. It's not easy work, but um
In the long
baby
run,
steps.
it benefits you.
Yeah, it's all about baby steps. Like identify and then see what your options are, and then work towards those options, and then try again, because it's never gonna to end up smoothly or perfectly. But as long as we're aware and striving to find and cultivate the best versions of ourselves, I feel like it's hard to go wrong that way, especially when we're asking for reassurances. Like I
When
pray
you're
for
trying to be
reassurances
better,
all the time. Sorry.
when you're trying to be better, the only direction you're going is forward.
Hmm.
Never, never, like you're never at the losing end if you're always trying. Like if you're when you're trying to be better, there's no like I tried to be better, but it went in the wrong way. Like not just like like
You're making the
there's
efforts.
only forward. Yeah.
Yeah, you're making the efforts, and like you're thinking about it, as opposed to completely avoiding it and be like, everything's fine, fire. Like
I
it's
get,
just,
I get what it is.
yeah, yeah, you know what I mean? Like it takes work, but it is possible. And I think, speaking as somebody who's always struggled with that mentally, being able to know that you can always make different choices. Like you can always choose differently. It doesn't, what was then doesn't always have to be forever. Like you can choose to be the better person that you want to be tomorrow. But it's just a matter of you making a choice, right? Making a choice, praying for reassurances. I love praying for reassurances so that I know that I'm going in the right direction. So hope everybody felt that. I felt that in this segment that we had today. Hopefully this was beneficial to you, for whoever's listening to us, because it gets hard out there, and sometimes, hi, it's me. I am the problem. Yeah, that's okay. It's okay as long as you do something about it. Yeah, yeah. So thanks everyone for tuning in to Chatline. This has been Tony and EJ signing off. See you again, same time next week. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Have a great weekend.
This is what I ask. Let me always dwell in the temple of the Lord till I breathe my last.
Are you ready to know who made it to the finals? This Sunday, December 21, we will finally get to know the choirs who will take part in the Isang Tinig, Isang Hinig INCRadio Choral Competition Season 2 Final Round for Luzon,